I'm with my friend Michael Goldberg, and I think, Michael, this is your third Ned Talk. I think this puts you at the head of the class. I don't think anybody's ever had a third Ned
Is
Talk.
that true? Really? The trifecta, Ned.
Trifecta.
So is
So
this a
Michael
Ned
is
talk or a Ned X talk? What are we talking here?
well, good question. Michael is, among other things, you don't know his work. He's written several books on networking. Got to buy them. He is a TED Talks, not once, but twice. Not only is he an expert on the subject of networking, my go to guy, he's also founded a networking organization and writes and talks and coaches people on something that he is extraordinarily passionate about. And one of the things you need to know about knockout networking is that Michael knows how to go a few rounds with people. So he's agreed to go a few rounds with me. And we'll see. Yeah, okay. Michael, you ready?
I don't know if I'm. This is interesting because this is going to be my third Ned talk. I've only done two TED talks, so clearly I've got work to do.
There you
You've
go. All
given me
right. So
a new goal to pursue.
this is something to aspire to. All right. So round one.
Round one. Here we
These are
go.
these are all three words.
Uh-oh.
Own your calendar.
Own your calendar. The 1, 2, 3 punch. Life is all, at least business life, maybe some personal life, is all about your calendar. Whenever we get an email, it's usually somebody that is looking to grab time or take away our calendar. And to me, it's really about, and in some cases we can't, it's unavoidable. But in most cases, especially if you own your own business, you own your own shop, you own your own initiative around bringing business in, owning your calendar is being able to create what you want your week to look like, your model week. So I split my week up into halves. So every Monday through Friday, it's on Monday morning, a Monday afternoon. So what that does mathematically is it creates my calendar in tenths. So then I choose to have control over 1/10 of my week. So my Monday morning is devoted to whatever it is, my Monday afternoon. So I set that up ahead of time, and it's even like that in Calendly. So I only prefer to have meetings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday afternoons. And what are we? It's a Tuesday afternoon right now, right? So I do that intentionally, unless a financial firm that happens to be my client needs to book me. If that's a whole different ball of wax, right? But otherwise, it's really having control of your calendar and knowing what goes where and when. And when there is a booking or where there is travel, like I have tomorrow, it's now what do those tenths look like given a travel week? So we do have control over our calendar. And a lot of it just comes down to if somebody wants to, you're speaking to somebody and they want to be on your calendar and you have a commitment already there, a lot of times we'll bump one commitment for another perceived better commitment. But if they're both important, it's really about I'm not available here, but this is when I am available. Now, I do see this with salespeople. They've got a networking meeting, and all of a sudden it seems like a sales appointment. We tend to bump the networking meeting for the sales appointment. But what if you had a sales appointment there? Would you bump one sales appointment for another? No, you would find an alternate time. So that's owning your calendars, maintaining your commitments, and making sure the meetings go where you want them to go. Less likely to be rescheduled, less likely to be canceled, and way more likely that you will, in fact, 3 words, own your calendar.
Good answer. Round one to Michael. Round two. Your networking style matters.
I'm a boxer, and there's an expression, I didn't come up with it in boxing, that dictates styles make fights. There are really good boxers that most people have heard of, even Muhammad Ali, that there were some fights that he was really choosy about, not because he didn't think he would win, but because he thought it would look bad. He thought that competing style would put me in a place where I don't want to look bad in front of my audience. And I think it's the same thing with networking, is that styles make communication, styles make connection. In one of my books, I talk about the one-thirder dynamic. And the one-thirder dynamic, it really speaks to the fact that if you're a good networker and you meet 10 people at an event, a live event, virtual is something else, that you tend to only connect with 3 or 4 out of those 10, 1/3, where it's like, you had me at hello. And it just seems really easy back and forth. One of the reasons why that one-thirder dynamic takes is because styles make fights, and it's because they're complementary styles. It's syntax of conversation and language is similar. There's timing. You don't feel like you're competing with one another. It just feels natural. Styles make fights. Styles make connections. Styles also make really good clients as well. And if you can figure out what those styles are in terms of industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, you'll know from a networking standpoint where you need to go, what you need to say, and with whom.
Sure. Strong first impression.
In boxing, I'm a right-handed fighter. There's this whole deal that when you box, and there was just a championship fight. I know people are going to watch this, but just over the weekend, and that first round, it was a hideous first round because the boxers barely threw any punches. They were just kind of feeling everything out, and let me just kind of get into the groove. When I'm sparring, especially with somebody that I think is really good and that could potentially hurt me, I don't lead with the left, the jab. I lead with my power punch. My first shot is that power punch because I want to set the tone. And this guy's serious. I think it's the same thing when we're having conversations. I think it's the same thing when we're making connections. Is start with your best stuff. Start with your best stuff. In conversation, my overhand right is in the form of a story. Ned, it's really great to meet you. You seem to have a great energy. Can I just share a quick story? And then I will share a story in a very succinct fashion that I think is relevant, fun, or funny. So if it's March, maybe it's about March Madness. I don't know if you follow March Madness at all, but and I'll use this template, which I stole from somebody. Point, story, application. Point, story, application. Can I share a quick story of how I went to a March Madness game and I ended up making a connection that turned into a client? Like this just happened. Point. Don't you want to hear that story? I'll tell my story. And then application, make it about my audience or about the person that I'm speaking with, make it relevant. The reason I share this with you is I know you're a big March Madness guy, and I thought you'd appreciate the relevance of this. Has it ever happened to you? Right? And now, point, story, application, I've made that connection and I've led with my power punch.
Very good. I am a March Madness guy for what it's worth.
I know you are.
Next round. Stay in touch.
Stay in touch. SIT, sit. Which is probably a horrible acronym, probably, right? Because to me, I think, sitting has a different connotation. But anyway, so staying in touch. I think staying in touch from a networking standpoint is on us if we're a sales producer, whether we're in banking, insurance, some other aspect of financial services, private equity, especially if we're in the business of bringing in business. So, I think one of the, and this actually happened today. Today, I reconnected with a former client that's about to become a current client. And the reason for it is because I reached out in an effort to stay in touch. And bad on me, it was way too long. I should have reached out to him, probably much sooner. And it made me think of some others that I now am reconnecting with. Networkers, myself included, tend to focus on the next new connection. I want to meet somebody new on LinkedIn, at some event, someone new, someone borrowed, someone blew. And I think that we end up forgetting, we are remiss that if we pick up our phones and we look at contacts, is that there's hundreds. If you're really good, there's thousands. And we forget the contacts that are in the rearview mirror rather than the contacts that are in the windshield. So I always challenge my audiences, and I do this myself, is just open up your contacts one day and just pick a letter. So maybe it's the B's, strum through the B's, and you'll see people that you haven't spoken to in a while, but that you had a great connection with. Maybe you still do. Push that button. They will almost always pick right up. And with an uptick, they'll say, Michael, Ned, right? And you've refurbished a connection. So it's not about selling them or anything like that. It's just reconnecting and collaborating back and forth. And you just never know where that goes. I do that once a day. I call it my ABC Reconnect. And I just pick a letter. Maybe I'm in traffic. Be careful. Maybe I'm, online somewhere. Maybe I'm on hold. I just pick a letter and I press a button or send a text. And for the cost of nothing, for the cost of we leave opportunity on the table only every single day, you can reconnect and refurbish. That is a way of staying in touch. The flip side of that is that as we're making connections is be really intentional about creating an SIT or staying in touch list of the people that you think are most important, most relevant, or that styles make fights. You've got the best style and connection with.
Very good. Last round, Michael.
Well, Ned,
Resilience.
how am I doing so far?
I think you're ahead on points. You haven't knocked me out, but you're definitely ahead on points.
I don't think I can knock you
Resilience,
out, Ned. You've got good head movement. I
resilience,
don't think it's happening.
resilience in networking.
Resilience in networking. It's kind of like resilience in sales. It's like you're taught to, overcome objections, and there's going to be objections, right? Not to take it personally. It's business, nothing personal, and I don't know how many no's it takes to get to a yes and all that stuff. I think resilience in networking is that we have to understand that not everybody will fall in love with us. That's just the reality. No matter how affable, personable, nice, kind, giving we think we are, styles do make fights. And I think I'm pretty good at this stuff. And hard to believe, even I don't connect with everybody that I meet. So it's just understanding that not everybody's going to love us. It's there's got to be resilience in that. Stay in touch with people that make sense. But the reality is, focus on the one-thirders. Focus on the people that you do have a connection with, because it's much easier to be resilient rather than chasing people that, for whatever reason, their style doesn't complement ours.
Michael, this has been great. You are somebody that I'm delighted I connected with years ago.
Well,
How can
likewise.
people connect with you if they're interested in finding out more about what you do?
Connect with me. Well, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can just knock out networking. And my website is knockoutnetworking.com, and you can follow me. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You'll follow me on some of the others, but LinkedIn is really where I live. Twitter, I got a lot going on there. But knockoutnetworking.com. And I also lead a national networking group that you had mentioned earlier called, wait for it, the Networking Group, or TNG. And we've got communities all over the country with leadership. I have leaders in all of those different places. It's mostly virtual except for the events that aren't. So I'm proud that we've got 6 communities, soon to be 9 communities over the next couple of months, one being in London, rumor has it.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to the fourth Ned Talks that you have, and in
I don't know
between
if
the
I'll
third,
qualify for that. It's like Rocky 1, 2, and 3. 4 wasn't so good, if you remember.
thanks again, Michael, for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Keep the left out.